Hey everyone, in this video we're going to take a look at the YodaMaster enclosure, M.2 enclosure that I have. YodaMaster was kind enough to send this enclosure over to me, and there's no money or anything exchanging hands or anything like that. It was just sending the product over and that was it. So this is the model HP5C3 if you want to find out specifically what the model number is. Otherwise you can just click on the links below and that'll take you to all the relevant pages for it. Now, getting into this enclosure itself, I do have some likes and dislikes about it. So comparing it to like my Ugreen enclosure, honestly, swapping out hard drives in the Ugreen enclosure is amazing because it's just a pop little switch and then you pull out the slot and then put the M.2 in. And then put it back together. There's no screws, it's completely toolless. There is the little nub to hold the M.2 down, the M.2 key. Now compared to the YodaMaster, it does require a screwdriver, which they do send over in the kit. Honestly, it's nothing really too much to write home about, it's just a screwdriver. But it is inconvenient for switching out drives consistently, although I think I'm probably in the minority of doing that with these M.2 enclosures. I would imagine people would typically only put like a terabyte, 2 terabyte in and then just kind of leave it at that. They wouldn't be swapping hard drives out willy-nilly. If anything, they would buy an additional enclosure to have the additional hard drives ready and available. So again, I'm probably in the minority of this, so it is a little bit more secure in that respect, that nobody can really kind of quickly tamper with it and swap out your drive with their drive or like quickly access your drive. But really, unless you have BitLocker on it or something like that, they can just swipe it and have it anyway, so it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I would have appreciated just a toolless approach for it, but they also do include a heatsink, and they include a heatsink pad, a thermal pad, sorry. So the Ugreen enclosure did include a thermal pad as well, but it didn't have an included heatsink. So I did do some testing with the heatsink, but with my testing in that, I did find that it was a little bit too small to be able to fit over my M.2 drive, so I had to actually bend out the wings there, or the little kind of slots that will hold the drive in place. So I had to put it on the table and kind of bend it outward to be able to fit my drive in, and now my drive is just kind of welded in there. Short of just getting some pliers and peeling and destroying the heatsink at this point, I'm just going to leave the hard drive in there at this point. Luckily, I did do testing and thermal testing and everything before putting the pad and the heatsink on, so we'll get into the thermal and the kind of temperature testing and just kind of speed testing compared to like the Ugreen enclosure, as well as the JSOCKS docking M.2 enclosure that I have. It's not shown here, but there is some testing just in regards of like speed testing. Alright, so getting in speed test results for the JSOCKS dock, I just use this as USB-C because it's meant to be used that way. It's not really meant to be used with like USB-A. So getting the read speeds on that on the same Kingston 2 terabyte drive that I was using across all testing, we can see that we did not touch that 1000 megabytes read per second, or in the writes per second, or megabytes per second, sorry for the write speeds, my apologies. But you can see moving over to the YodaMaster with USB-C, we did actually exceed that 1000 megabytes per second read. We didn't touch it with the writes, but we were pretty close there. And then you can see all the sequential, like the throughput tests and the random and the single file tests, they were a little bit higher than the USB-A speeds, obviously, because presumably it's supposed to be 5 gigabytes per second and then 10 gigabits per second, I believe, for USB-A versus USB 3.1, I believe it is, USB-A. But you can see that the USB-A results obviously are going to be a little bit slower, but honestly in day-to-day you're probably not going to notice the speed differences, honestly, all that much. Like it's like it's minuscule at best. And you'll never hit those speeds consistently either. You can see here with the Ugreen USB-C, sorry, we did not touch that 1000 megabytes per second either compared to the YodaMaster. So we can see here that on the left is the temperatures with no pad, in the middle is temperatures with the pad, and then on the right is temperatures with the pad and the heatsink itself. So from what we can see here, the crystal disk mark info was a little bit bugged, so it wasn't giving me consistent readouts of the attached drive temperature, and nor would I get the drive temperature in hardware info. So what I ended up having to do is it give me the actual temperature drive on the initial boot up of crystal disk info while I was doing my transfer test, so I was transferring a 60 gigabyte plus file over to the hard drive, and then I was just monitoring the temps. So what I ended up doing for my testing was run 2 tests, which was basically copy the folder over twice, and then at the end of it, or very near the end of it, while it was still in the process of copying it over, I would check the temperatures. So that's what we got the temperatures here. So we can see that on the left we got 65 degrees Celsius, which is kind of getting up there in temperatures, and I wouldn't recommend running a drive like consistently hotter than that if you can. I'm not the expert on USB hard drives and M.2 drives, but to my knowledge, they're pretty good up to like 65 to 70 degrees, but you don't really want to be consistently over that for long periods of time for sustainability reasons. Then we can see in the middle here that with the heatsink pad that we did get very close to the heatsink with the thermal pad results. So honestly, the fact that I had to bend open the heatsink and then basically force my hard drive in there, and now it's not getting, like, it's not coming out with destroying it without destroying the heatsink. Sorry. For the like couple degree difference that I observed just in my light testing, is it worth it? Not really. Honestly, I wouldn't bother putting on the heatsink. I would just put on the thermal pad because that seems to be doing just enough or more than enough for cooling. Definitely run at least a thermal pad on your hard drives when you're doing massive like file tests, or if you're using it day to day. Honestly, you should be just throwing that thermal pad on there regardless, because a lot of the times, like the Ugreen, the YotaMaster, they came with a thermal pad. The JSOX M.2 dock came with a thermal pad. So these drives can get hot and consistent, like if you're using gameplay or if you're just transferring big files over, they will get hot. So please, please, please use these thermal pads. This heatsink enclosure thing, not so much. So to wrap this up, and so it's not as longer as it needs to be, all the relevant hard drives will be in the description below, the Ugreen, the YotaMaster, as well as the JSOX dock. If you want a discount on the YotaMaster, use the discount in the description box there, and you'll be able to get a discount on the YotaMaster. The main features over the YotaMaster, or over the Ugreen versus the YotaMaster, is it's a full aluminum heatsink, although the Ugreen is aluminum as well, but the YotaMaster, it does feel a lot denser, I will say. So it does have the 10 gigabyte per second USB 3.2 USB-C, or it does have 5 gigabyte per second USB-A protocol. So doing that, you honestly, there's not really much else to say about this thing, so I'm just going to wrap this video up. It's a decent hard drive. I am annoyed with the screw that I have to unscrew it to put in a new hard drive, but at the end of the day, it's really a minority problem, I'm sure. The cord included is amazing. I really love these cord, or this style of cord, where it's the USB-A and USB-C all in one. So you're not like trying to get a dongle or have to swap out your cords. So I love that. That's perfect. Amazing. But yeah, as always, to wrap up my videos, I'm going to give a huge shout out to my channel members. So they are Roy Watney, Amoa, Darkstar, Rico1217, Joey VR, and Root Access. So again, thank you everyone who becomes channel members to my channel. It really does help out. I do appreciate it. It's just a really like kind of like a validating, like kind of motivating thing, and it just really helps out with the motivation to kind of want to keep doing more and bettering myself in terms of YouTube and other aspects of life too. So it just trickles down. So thank you again, and thank you for taking the time to watch these videos. It really means a lot, whether you like it, dislike it, share it, don't share it. Again, it doesn't matter to me, just as long as somebody gets something out of it. So as always, I hope you all have a great day.